Hi, this is Rachelle at Scrapcraftastic, and I'm back to do part 2 of how to make a contact card or sheet using Silhouette Studio. I talked a little bit in the first part of this series about what a contact card is. I will link to that video in the iCard up above. This shape that we have here is the base of our contact card, and we also did that in part 1 of the series. So we're going to pick up where we left off. I suggested in the previous video that you kind of plan your design and collect the graphics or images that you want to use. I have done that. I have all of my images in one folder here that I'm going to choose from. So let's get started. So I'm going to go to File, Open, and I'm just going to open my logo for now. So it puts it on a completely different artboard, and I'm going to go in right now because I don't want this cut, and it is a ping, so the cut lines may automatically be there. So it doesn't look like they are, so I'm just going to go back to Design, do a Control C or copy, and then go back to my contact card and do a Control V or paste. And I'm going to, of course, shrink this down to the size that I need. And I'm just going to double check and make sure that the cut is not on for this. It is not. Okay, so we are good. So I decided that I want my logo to be down at the bottom here. So I'm going to put it as small as possible because I also want to put my social media icons down there. So, and everything that we're doing here, you could also do if you are want to brand your sticker sheets. This is basically the same concept, and a contact card is really a sticker sheet. I mean, when you get down to it, that's what it is. Okay, so I think that's pretty decent as far as alignment. I don't know if I want it on the left or the right. Let's move it to the right and see. Okay, so now we are done with the logo. I'm going to close that out. I don't need to save the changes. Now I'm going to go and pull in my social media icons. So these icons I had on my computer for a while individually, and I just kind of put them together in this strip. I have a collection of social media icons because I used to do websites, and I used them quite a bit. So I had them easily accessible. I'm sure you will be able to find any icons that you would need on Google. Just make sure that you are using them for personal use and not trying to use them commercially. Okay, so I'm going to copy and paste that over here. Again, I'm going to reduce the size down to what I need it to be. So let's zoom out and see where we are. So we have our logo, we have our icons. You could easily switch those around, change them however you want. That's just how I want mine to look for now. So I'm going to go up here and close my social media icon file that I opened. I'm going to go ahead and save my contact cards. So when you're working in any software, but when you're doing graphic stuff like this, it's a good idea to save often. So a lot of times I'm just hitting Control S and saving it, and I may not mention it because it's just like second nature to me. So keep in mind, maybe after every little thing that you do or every change that you make and you like what you're seeing, do a Control S or save. Okay. So let's move on to see what else we have in this folder that I put together for my contact cards. Okay. Up at the top, I think I want a greeting. So I don't have anything in here for a greeting, which means I'm going to have to type that out myself. And I also want my name on here. So let's go ahead and type out my name. As you can see, it has a red outline. So that means if I leave this the way it is, it will be cut. So in order to make sure that this is not cut, I'm going to select my name and go over here and say no cut. Now I don't know if there's another place in Silhouette to turn that off. It's just I'm visual, so I like to actually look at it and see if it's on or off. So I usually jump between design and send. When I go to send, it shows you what is actually going to be cut. As you can see, the social media icons and my logo down at the bottom would not be cut. So right now, it's how it should be. The only thing that would be cut is the outside of our contact card. Okay, so I'm back over to design, and I want my name to be in a script. So let's go ahead and do that. Something else that I did not do that I should have done before we did this. I am going to stop right here. I did not make new layers for these items. So let's stop right here and do that. I'm going to go over here. Right now we have a base layer and we have our bleed layer, which is locked and turned off. I talked about the bleed in the previous video. So I'm going to leave the bleed off. And right now everything is on my bleed layer. I don't want that. So let's go ahead and select the social media and the logo. So I'm going to cut that. So that's Control X. So it's out there still, but you just can't see it. So now I'm going to go over here to the layers panel and click the plus. It's going to give me a new layer, and I'm going to name that layer footer. So all of my footer information is going to be in that layer. And then I'm make sure that's selected and then do edit, paste, or Control V. So now all of the information at the bottom there is in the footer, and I can hide it and I can lock it. So if it's positioned the way I want it, then it will stay in place. So my text is just out there in limbo. So I'm going to do the same thing for it. I'm going to do a Control X or cut. I'm going to make a new layer, and I'm going to call this layer header, or I'm going to call it header content. How about that? Okay. Because the black is also considered a header, even though I didn't make a layer for it specifically. It's part of the base. Just in case I come back later and want to do that, then my names won't conflict. Okay, so we're on the header content layer. I'm going to do Control V to put my name back on that layer. So now everything is on its own layer. Okay, so we got the base, we got the footer, and we have the header text that we're just beginning to work on, or the header content. I want to change the font to something a little more fun. Let's see. I actually have a font named Rachelle. Let's use that. Okay. And I want to turn off the red outline. Again, I don't like to use that red outline if it's not an item that's being cut. I'm not crazy about the red outline either, because I think sometimes it actually prints and we don't need that. So I'm going to fill this with white. So it's filled with white, and I'm just going to try and click on it and drag it over here onto the black so we can see what we're working with. And I'm just going to reduce the size to fit in here. And I'm going to say greetings from Rachelle. So I want to do a different font for the greetings from. And let's do the same thing. Turn the red off. Then we're going to turn it white. Then I'm just going to click and drag it over here. Reduce the size. and then decide what font I want to use for that. Let's see. I think I want to use Palatino linotype and italic. No, it didn't take Palatino. Okay. Oh, that's a little boring. I'll use that one. So this is how I'm going to do my header. You can add some more decorative items up top if you choose. Let's go over here and turn off the cut for greetings from. We're back to design. Let's save. And we can go ahead and create a new layer by clicking on the plus. And we're going to call this layer Kiss Cut. Because these are our graphics that we want to kiss cut and turn into stickers. So we're going to stay on that layer, and I'm going to go File, Open. I'm going to start with a doll. And this is the one that I chose. She's one of my planner queens. As you can see, she's on a transparent background. However, there is an invisible box around her, and we want to remove that box. So I'm going to drag her back over here. So to remove that invisible background, we're going to go to the Trace palette or panel, and we're going to do Select Trace Area. We're going to draw a box around her that covers her like so. And it should start turning yellow. Everywhere that you see yellow will be inside of your cut. So I need to increase the yellow to cover some of these areas that it didn't automatically cover. So I'm taking the threshold option and increasing. Okay. And I think we might have a little problem right there. Let's try it. I'm going to do trace and detach. And let's see, go to send. As you saw, I removed the invisible box. Okay, so it kept her intact. That's good. Let's go back. So yes, I moved the invisible box away. We don't need that anymore. We'll just delete it. If you wanted to get a little more detailed, you could go in and remove the armholes, but we're not going to do that since we are actually going to add a offset to her. I'll just leave it. Okay. So you can either do your offset now or do it with the other stickers. I think we'll do them all at the same time. So let's go ahead and copy her over to our contact card. And I like for my graphics, whatever direction the object seems to be facing, or the person seems to be facing, I kind of want them to be looking towards where I want the viewer to go. So instead of putting her over here on the right, I don't want them looking off the page. I want them to look at everything else that's on the page. So it's like a subtle cue to keep looking. There's more. So we could either put her in the middle or on the side, on the left side. I'm going to put her on the left side. And I'm just going to make her small enough to fit in here. And leave a little room around her because we are going to do a tiny little offset. So, okay. So she's ready to go. Let's make sure we have her on the right layer. Yes. We can name her doll. And it's good to kind of name the layers when you're working with quite a few things. That way you don't have to sit there and try to search and figure out which one it is. The software automatically gives it a name, but you want it to have a name that means something to you. So let's go on back to our folder and see what else we have. File, open. I'm going to use this bow. And you can open multiples at the same time. So I'm going to use the bow. I think I'm going to use this little envelope. So the flower and this coffee cup. So I'm just going to open all of those files, and they'll all be open in the tabs ready to be used. So we're going to do the same thing that we've done previously. We're going to select the trace panel and select the area that we want to trace. Increase the threshold until our item is filled with yellow, and do a trace and detach. So it's actually removed our flower from the invisible background. So I'm going to copy it over to our contact card. Let's go ahead and reduce this. If you look closely, there are measurements on the left and the bottom of whatever object you're working with. It tells you what size it is. Sometimes it can be a little deceiving when you're working on a monitor what the actual size is. So you do have those clues there to tell you. And also up at the top in this bar here, there is a W and an H, and it tells you the width and the height. So when you do the trace and detach, it will automatically put a cut line around your object. So if you look at the doll and the flower, they have cut lines. If you don't want to add a offset, then you're ready to go once you import all your graphics here. If you want an offset, then you'll have to create one and remove the original cut line that is added. I'm just going to repeat this for all of the items and copy and paste them onto the contact card, and then I'll explain what we do next. This is where we are at this point. Now, I also had some quotes or phrases that I wanted to include. Remember, when you are setting up the items on your card, do not get too close to other items or too close to the edge. You want to keep a good width of border. Not only is it more visually pleasing when you have your items spread out where they can breathe and everything's not jammed up to the edge of the page, is also allowing you room to do an offset. Someone's going to go in and find the other items that I wanted to include. I had them open recently, so I'm just going to go in my recent files. One thing that I wanted to include was the graphic that I had that says live well and plan. That's a hashtag that I use pretty much on all of my Instagram posts. So I have it here where I was using it for die cut. I'm just going to copy one of those and bring it over to my contact card and paste. Let's make sure everything is grouped together. It is. It's already ready to go. The cut line is already intact. So I'm just going to reduce the size down. Let's make it a little smaller. I don't want it to be too big. Okay. So we have that one. Then there was another one I wanted to use. Slay the Day. I know we probably don't say that much anymore. Now this one isn't grouped, so I need to group it, select everything that I want, hit Control G, or go to Object, Group, but we already have it grouped, so I'm just going to copy that over to my contact card, and I'm going to flip it around. I could change the color of these, but I'm going to leave them black for now. And the offset is a little large also, because again, I was using these for die cuts, not stickers, but I'm going to leave it. So let's see if we can reduce the size of this a little bit. Okay. And then, let's see, it seems like there was another one, but I think it just said sleigh. Plan everything, that was the other one. So that's this, and let's see if it's, yeah, it's grouped, so just select it and copy and paste onto our contact card. So we have lots of different fonts going on, but that's okay. Okay, so I'm gonna probably need to do a little rearranging. One thing that I'm not liking is the envelope is so plain you can barely tell what it is on here. So I'm gonna remove that, and I think that will give us a little better balance. So let's take the envelope out of the picture. Let's drag it off onto the side in case I change my mind. And let's see, what else can we change? Maybe we can put the flower up. No, I like the magic up there. I'm not sure I like having two flowers. Since this is my contact card, I'm going to go to some of my illustrations, and I'm going to pull one of the roses, the gold roses that I listed for the patrons over on my Patreon at patreon.com/Scrapcraftastic. I had quite a few people ask me about the gold roses, and they are currently exclusive to Patron Plus and Patron Elite members. I already have them in Silhouette. So I'm just going to open the Silhouette file. And I think I'm going to use this one here. And just reduce the size. Oops. We need to group that and then bring it over. So I want a word, a graphic, a word, a graphic, a word. I'm just trying to balance things here. And I should put a couple of roses up here, I think, to kind of balance that off. So let me grab a couple. Let's just try this one here. And I'm going to copy it without the cut. So now that we got the roses there, I'm going to move my name over and the greeting over just a bit, and I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. There we go. So everything has a little room to breathe. I think that's pretty good for now. Let's go over here and check our layers palette. I got kind of absorbed in what I was doing and I didn't name my layers, so let me go back and name my layers. Everything has some type of cut line. If we go over here to send, you'll see everything that we want to kiss cut or cut has a cut line already. Again, if you don't need an offset, then you're good to go. You can skip this next part. I want to give my objects, all of my objects, an offset. So the gold flower has it and the phrases have it. Let's start making them for everything else. I'm just going to select them all. So I selected everything that I want. Then I'm going to right click right on the edge of one of the items, and I'm going to do offset. So it should do an offset for all of them. Yes, it did. Now, it's a huge offset. We need to adjust that. I want it to be very small. Let's change that to 0.015. Okay, I think we're going to leave it there. So let's zoom in really close so you can get a good look. Where you see the red line, that is where it's going to cut. Now remember, all of those items had, when we pull them over, they had their own cut line already. So if we go to send and we look in close, you'll see that each of the ones that we just did the offset for actually has two cut lines. So we need to go back and remove the original cut line. So I'm just going to go here and select the magic circle, turn off that cut. So now we only have the offset cut. The flower, turn off the cut. The doll, turn off the cut. The bow, turn off the cuts. And the cup, turn off the cuts. Okay. So everything that I want to kiss cut is done, and we are ready to make our contact cards. So what's going to happen is it's actually going to kiss cut the outside of the card as well. If you want to, you can tell it which layers you want to cut how. Over here, that's another good reason to use the layers. You could turn off everything except for the base. Let's turn them all off. And then you can tell it to cut sticker paper or whatever object you're using. I think it says white sticker paper is the option. Sticker paper white. So once you've set all that, you can adjust everything down here. Then when you get ready to do the kiss cut part, then you would just select kiss cut and make your settings for that. Or you could just cut everything, kiss cut all together, and then manually trim out your pages. It's just however you want to do it. Typically, I would just cut everything, kiss cut everything all together, and then manually trim out my papers. All right, so now we are ready to duplicate this and make our 4 cards. And come back over here to the layers panel, and we're going to unlock everything that's locked. So once you've unlocked everything and have everything showing, you can group it and then start duplicating your contact card. I don't need the bleed in the header, so I'm just going to take that off. I initially did that just to show you how to do it, but we don't need that on here. So let's take it off. Let's group it. And I think we're good. And now we're going to go over here to the replicate panel and copy it to the right. And we can use the right arrow to kind of, if you want them butted up against each other, that's fine. I don't really care for that. So I kind of scooch it over just a little bit with the right arrow key. Then I'm going to select both of them and go over here to the replicate panel and duplicate down. So we got a little bit of room down at the bottom where we can move these down some. So I'm going to scoot them down just a little bit because I want to give them a little room in between the top and the bottom cards. And same thing up at the top. We got a little room that we can move them up. That's it for part 2 of how to make a contact card or sheet in Silhouette Studio. In part 3, we will be talking about printing and cutting, as well as preparing this file to be used with the Cricut. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the little gray bell so that you'll receive notification each time I upload a new video. Be sure to check the community tab and my stories for updates throughout the week. Also, check us out over at patreon.com/Scrapcraftastic for exclusive content and digital downloads. Visit my other channel, Journal Life's Journey, for live craft videos, junk journals, and weekly vlogs. You can find me across social media at Scrapcraftastic. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them below. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.